If you've been around the abortion debate for any period of time, you've probably heard someone say that men's opinions and thoughts and actions about abortion don't matter. Here at CareNet, we've heard this challenge to men so often, we've coined it the no womb, no say perspective. In short, since a man does not have a womb to carry an unborn child, he should have no moral, legal, or ethical say in what happens to an unborn child in the womb. As you can guess, this perspective typically comes from the pro-choice side. They have framed abortion as a woman's issue through the "my body, my choice" mantra, and they just want men to stay out of it. Or do they? Before we talk about how illogical the no womb, no say perspective is, let's first address the hypocrisy of pro-choice people who claim that the male perspective is unwelcome in the abortion debate. A few years ago, the pro-choice movement started a very aggressive initiative to get men to support abortion rights. This effort challenged men to be bro-choice and even to take pledges to show their support. NARAL Pro-Choice America launched its Men for Choice initiative. Unite for Reproductive and Gender Equity, or URGE, another major proponent of the pro-choice movement, states on its website, "Pro-choice men can be a powerful force in helping move our policy agenda forward," which is exactly why URGE leads the way in recruiting and elevating their voices within this movement. After reading URGE's perspective, we were reminded of the old quip, "When I want your opinion, I will give it to you." It also reminded us of a pro-choice bumper sticker you may have seen that says, "I don't want my reproductive rights decided by a bunch of gray-haired white guys." Of course, this bumper sticker misses the irony that abortion was made legal by just such a group of those guys, the Supreme Court in 1973. If old white guys can't get it right now, isn't it possible that they got it wrong then? In any case, for pro-choice advocates, it's perfectly fine and even required for men to engage in the abortion debate as long as they come down on the right side. That hypocrisy aside though, let's take a closer look at the no womb, no say perspective and see if it holds up to any scrutiny. Let's start with the obvious. Despite scientific advancements, men still have to be present and involved in the vast majority of pregnancies. They are one half of the equation when it comes to creating a pregnancy, so to argue that they have nothing of value to say about the fate of that pregnancy is a logical stretch. The principle underlying the no womb, no say view is this: unless one is impacted by an issue or action in the most direct way, one should have no agency in making decisions about that issue or action. So let's consider a few situations. Should a woman who is a stay-at-home mom and therefore makes no income outside the home have a say on tax policy? After all, she doesn't directly pay taxes for an income. Or should someone who does not own a gun or has never been injured by a gun have a say in what our nation's gun law should be? Again, a non-gun owner is not going to be directly impacted if access to guns is limited. Furthermore, when you consider the no womb, no say perspective in light of our nation's history, it's especially troubling. For example, consider the Civil War. The South was primarily an agrarian society that, in large measure, was structured around and dependent on slave labor. Indeed, a key aspect of the South's states' rights argument was that since the North's society and economic system would have not been directly impacted by the abolition of slavery, the North should have no say. Indeed, no slaves, no say was the South's proverbial battle cry. Also, consider the issue of voting rights in the United States. From our nation's founding, voting rights were limited to property-owning or tax-paying white males who were about 6% of the population. So then, the notion was no property, no say. Even when voting rights were extended to other men, women were still excluded. Why? Because the view held by many men was that women were not and should not be as directly involved in the economic and civil aspect of American society as men. Consequently, these men held a womb, no say perspective when it came to voting rights. Well, the women's suffrage movement changed that perspective, and in 1920, with the passage of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, women were given the right to vote by men. You see, in all of the above examples, we have rightly rejected the principle that undergirds the no womb, no say perspective on abortion. Why? Because when considering what is best for our society, we don't just consider the view of those most directly impacted to the exclusion of all others. To do so would be an injustice, especially to those who are vulnerable. Rather, we give an equal say and even encourage the voices of those who are affected, even if it's only indirectly. Indeed, a stay-at-home mom is affected by tax policy, so she has an equal right and is encouraged to vote. Our nation's gun laws affect the safety of the communities where the non-gun owners live and raise their children, so they must have an equal say in the laws that are enacted. The moral stain and injustice of slavery affected those in the North, so they had agency and an obligation to fight a bloody war to eliminate it. The laws that were passed in this nation affected women's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, so it was an injustice to deny them the right to vote. Again, in all of these issues, our society rightly determined that it would be an injustice to deny certain people the ability and the right to have say in issues that affect them, even if indirectly. And several recent studies have confirmed the reality that abortion does affect men. For example, one study found 5 different ways in which men were affected by abortion, such as expressing a need for counseling and experiencing ambivalent and painful emotions after abortion. So, when an unborn child is killed in the womb, especially if it is his child, it deeply affects a man. So doesn't it make sense for him to have a say too? For CareNet, I'm Allie Nielsen.